He stood at the edge of everything: wealth, privilege, a future paved in gold. But inside, he was drowning. Every door opened for him, yet he couldn't find a way out of his own emptiness. Teachers gave up. Classmates mocked. His father looked through him like glass. Then, in the quietest corner of an elite school, a woman nobody noticed, a black janitor with philosopher's eyes, spoke word that shattered everything he thought he knew. She wasn't there to clean floors. She was there to rebuild a broken boy into a man. If you believe in stories that transform, that challenge, that remind us greatness can come from the most unexpected places, hit that subscribe button right now for Tales by Shaldre. Because what happens next will change how you see success forever. Marcus Hamilton was born into a world most people only glimpse through magazine covers. His father, Vincent Hamilton, had built a technology empire that generated billions. The Hamilton name appeared regularly on Forbes lists and on the lips of politicians courting the nations. At 17, Marcus lived in a 10-bedroom estate outside Atlanta. He'd never flown commercial, never worried about money, never wondered if he could afford something. His closet held more designer clothes than most boutiques. Yet for all the abundance, Marcus carried an emptiness he couldn't name, a void that private jets could never fill. He attended Ashford Academy, one of the nation's most prestigious private schools. He hadn't earned his place there. No entrance exam, no interview. Just a wire transfer that made admission smile. The Hamilton name was its own application. Inside those hallowed halls, Marcus distinguished himself in 3 ways: his arrogance, his expensive wardrobe, and his spectacular academic failure. His grades were catastrophic. He rarely completed assignments. Tests came back marked with scores that would horrify most parents: 40%, 25%, sometimes single digits. Teachers passed him anyway, terrified of jeopardizing the Hamilton family's generous donations. Marcus drifted through classes like a ghost. He scrolled through his phone during lectures, smirked when teachers tried engaging him, treated homework like suggestions. His classmates viewed him with envy and contempt, a spoiled child coasting on family money, contributing nothing, learning nothing, becoming nothing. When a guidance counselor called him in about failing grades, Marcus had leaned back and delivered a line that echoed through the school. "I could buy this entire institution if I wanted to. What's a grade going to change about that?" At home, things were worse. Vincent Hamilton was a self-made man who'd clawed from poverty to prosperity through intelligence and ruthless determination. He had no patience for weakness, especially not from his only son. "You're an embarrassment," Vincent said one evening after another call from the principal. "If you worked for my company, you'd be terminated immediately." Marcus shrugged with practiced boredom. "Good thing I'm your son, not your employee." The world doesn't recognize that distinction. You either become someone or remain a rich child with a famous surname and no substance. And I won't carry you. The silence felt like standing at a cliff's edge. Vincent wasn't making idle threats. Yet Marcus showed up at school the next morning as though nothing had changed, pulling into the faculty parking lot in his sleek silver Audi and strutting through the entrance like a runway model. One pair of eyes observed him differently. She stood near the side entrance, a mop in weathered hands, posture upright despite the menial wake. A black woman, probably in her 50s, wearing a simple custodial uniform. Her expression was calm, observant, unimpressed by expensive cars or designer clothes. Marcus didn't notice her. To him, she was background scenery, just a janitor. But she noticed him, and in that noticing, something began. The weight of failure settled slowly, then all at once. For weeks, Marcus continued his pattern of negligence. But cracks were forming. Test scores declined from bad to disastrous. A literature exam came back with 18 out of 100. Did you even read the assignment? Math, 24%. History, 31%. Biology, 0 after turning in a blank exam. Then Vincent made good on his threat. Marcus discovered it when his credit card was declined at a coffee shop. All accounts frozen. 2 days later, his Audi disappeared from the driveway, replaced by a note: "Take the bus like everyone else." For the first time, Marcus Hamilton tasted what normal students lived with daily. Walking through Ashford Academy's entrance without his car felt like arriving naked. Stripped of the armor his wealth provided, he felt exposed, vulnerable, small. Near the east wing, he passed the janitor cleaning windows, humming softly. As he walked by, she spoke quietly. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Marcus stopped, turned. What did you just say? The woman looked up, dark eyes meeting his without fear. Nothing you're ready to understand yet, son. But Marcus couldn't stop thinking about those words. They followed him through classes he couldn't focus on, during lunch he couldn't eat, during the long bus ride home. More tests followed, more failures. The guidance counselor called him in again, her voice carrying no warmth. Marcus, you're at serious academic risk. You're ranked last in the entire senior class. It's temporary. I'll hire a tutor. You've already had 3 tutors. They all quit. Marcus left feeling genuine fear, real terror at the prospect of his own irrelevance. He took a side exit, and there she was again, the janitor, cleaning up a spilled drink. She saw him, offered a small nod. He stopped. You mentioned Socrates before. The woman straightened slowly. You remembered that? Yeah, it stuck with me. Seemed strange, a janitor quoting ancient philosophers. What stranger is a young man with everything who can't pass a basic reading test? The observation hit like a physical blow. But beneath the embarrassment, something else stirred. Respect. You used to teach, didn't you? He asked quietly. Not just philosophy. Many subjects, before circumstances changed. Will you teach me? The question surprised him. Please. I'm failing everything. I need help. The woman studied him for a long moment. One condition. You leave your name and your pride at the door. You start from zero. Can you do that? Marcus nodded. Then meet me tomorrow morning. East wing, before sunrise. Bring a notebook and willingness to be honest with yourself. Dawn painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. Marcus arrived before sunrise, clutching a fresh notebook like a talisman. He found her in the east wing, polishing floors with methodical movements. She wore earbuds, humming something with soul. Marcus approached hesitantly. You said you'd teach me. The woman removed one earbud. I did. I also said it wouldn't be easy. I don't care about easy. I just need to not be this person anymore. Then let's begin properly. My name is Dorothy Bennett. You can call me Miss Bennett. How long have you worked here? 3 years at Ashford. Before that, other schools. And before that... She paused. I was a university professor. English literature and philosophy. Marcus's eyes widened. A professor? Why would you leave that for? For this? Dorothy finished without shame. Life takes things from you sometimes. Everything you built, everything you thought defined you. And you're left with only what you truly know. I still know how to teach. The simple dignity in her words struck something deep in Marcus. Where do we start? Dorothy pulled a worn notebook from her bag. Every morning before classes, you meet me here. 1 hour. And every evening after I finish work, you sit and write. Not essays for grades. Reflections. What you learned, what you felt, what you understood. No judgment, just honesty. Marcus opened the notebook. Blank pages stared back, an invitation, a challenge, a promise. What if I fail again? Dorothy's smile was sad and knowing. Then you'll finally be doing it right. Failure is part of learning. Giving up is what makes you a failure. And so began the most transformative period of Marcus Hamilton's life. The days developed a sacred rhythm. Marcus arrived before dawn. Dorothy greeted him with questions that challenged everything he thought he understood. What did this sentence make you feel? Why do you think this character remained silent? Can you describe what courage sounds like? She didn't lecture. She provoked. She pushed. She demanded he think rather than memorize, feel rather than recite, engage rather than dismiss. Books that had seemed like punishment suddenly opened up. Sentences began revealing layers of meaning. Characters became mirrors reflecting parts of himself he'd never acknowledged. The notebook filled rapidly with genuine thoughts and raw emotions. He wrote about his father's coldness, about the pressure of carrying a name that meant everything and nothing, about the terrifying emptiness wealth couldn't fill. Dorothy read every word. Her notes in the margins weren't corrections, but questions pushing him deeper. One evening, Marcus sat in the cafeteria writing about identity. Two football players walked past laughing. One of them, Terrence, spoke loud enough for Marcus to hear. Look at Hamilton now, writing love letters to the janitor lady. Marcus's jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists. But Dorothy, cleaning nearby, placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You don't measure depth with a shallow ruler. Marcus looked up at her, anger draining away. That single sentence contained more wisdom than 1,000 comebacks. Those boys were measuring him by superficial standards. They had no capacity to understand the transformation happening inside him. That night, a message appeared from his father. Final warning: improve dramatically or face permanent consequences. No trust fund. No support. Nothing. Marcus stared at the message. A month ago, it would have terrified him. Now, it felt almost liberating. He texted back, understood. Then he opened his notebook and continued writing. The work intensified. Dorothy constructed a curriculum based on genuine understanding. Marcus read James Baldwin, Langston Hughes, Toni Morrison. He wrote reflection pieces instead of formulaic essays. He questioned systems, interrogated injustice, examined his own privilege. Each evening he handed her notebooks filled with thoughts. Each night she returned them with questions digging even deeper. Marcus began bringing other students to their sessions. Jasmine from biology. Others who'd heard whispers that someone at Ashford actually cared about teaching. The abandoned library wing became their secret classroom. They read together, wrote together, debated ideas. Students cried over breakthroughs. It was beautiful and dangerous. One afternoon, Dorothy was summoned to the administrative office. The assistant principal spoke in corporate tones. Miss Bennett, we received concern from parents. They are asking why their children are spending after-hours time with custodial staff. It's unorthodox. I'm teaching, Dorothy replied simply. You're not a certified instructor here. It's not in your job description. Neither is saving a child's future. But I've done that anyway. The assistant principal had no response. But Dorothy understood what was coming. Marcus learned about it the next day. They told you to stop? Yes. That's insane. You're actually helping students. I know, but that's what systems do. They don't attack what's broken. They attack what's working in ways they didn't design or control. Marcus clenched his fists. I'll go public. I'll tell my father. Not yet, Dorothy said firmly. Your voice needs to be strong enough to stand on its own first, not protected by your father's name. Your voice, your truth. Marcus nodded slowly. The revolution had begun, but it needed to be fought the right way. One morning, Dorothy sat Marcus down with unusual solemnity. It's time I told you something no teacher ever explains. The secret isn't in grades or textbooks or diplomas. The secret to real learning is transformation. She paced slowly. Most people learn to pass tests, to survive, to repeat what someone told them. But you don't change that way. True change happens when something inside you breaks and rebuilds itself stronger. She handed him a warm book with blue binding. This saved me. The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. I read it when I lost everything. My career, my husband, my identity. It brought me back to myself. Marcus opened the cover. Handwritten notes filled every margin. You're giving this to me. I'm trusting you with it. Why me? Because when I first saw you, arrogant, lost, drowning, I saw something underneath. Something that still wanted to live, to grow, to matter. Marcus clutched the book to his chest. I'm going to read every word. Then write something real. For you. Dorothy stood to leave. Before exiting, she turned. Next time someone asks how you're doing in school, don't say I'm improving. Say I'm becoming someone. The change became visible. Marcus asked questions in class that showed genuine engagement. He volunteered for group work. He submitted essays that were thoughtful, personal, powerful. During history, he raised his hand. Can we discuss how this textbook minimizes slavery, treating it like a footnote rather than America's foundational sin? The room went silent. Where are you getting these ideas? The teacher asked carefully. Du Bois, Baldwin, Dorothy Bennett. People who actually understand history instead of sanitizing it. No one forgot that moment. Marcus wasn't just changing himself. He was learning to see others, truly see them. The quiet girl who sat alone. The student working 2 jobs. The teacher who gave brilliant lectures but never got respect. Once you learn to really see people, you realize how many go unseen. One afternoon, Marcus brought a paper to show his father, an essay with a bold red A-. The courage to unlearn. His teacher's comment, "You found your authentic voice." He found Vincent in the garage beside a new sports car, discussing acquisitions on Bluetooth. Marcus waited until the call ended. "Dad, I want to show you something." Vincent took the paper, scanned the title, raised an eyebrow. "Is this a joke?" "It's a real essay. My English teacher gave me an A-. This is a diary entry about feelings. This isn't academic work. It's sentimental garbage, both, about learning to think." Vincent tossed the paper onto the car's hood. "Who taught you to write like this?" Marcus hesitated, then answered clearly. "Dorothy, the janitor." Silence. Vincent stepped forward, voice venomous. "You're learning from someone who mops floors. She was a professor. She's done more for me than you ever. She's a failure now, a person who cleans up other people's messes because she couldn't maintain a real career. She taught me more about integrity and being human than you've taught me in 17 years. If you don't stop this immediately, you lose everything," Vincent warned. "Your college fund, your trust fund, your place in this family." "Maybe I need to lose everything," Marcus said, trembling but steady, "to figure out who I actually am without your money defining me." Vincent stared at his son like a stranger. Then, without another word, he walked away. The next day, Dorothy was gone. Fired. Budget cuts, they said. Escorted out early. No chance to say goodbye. Marcus searched the entire school. Nothing. He felt like someone had punched the air from his lungs. Then he saw the announcement on the bulletin board. Senior speech contest. What it means to win in life. This was it. His chance. Not for a grade or scholarship. For Dorothy. For truth. That night, Marcus wrote until 3:47 a.m. He wrote about transformation, about learning from unexpected teachers, about how greatness comes from unlikely places. His essay was titled, "The Woman Who Cleaned More Than Floors." Friday evening arrived with unusual energy. The Ashford Academy auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Parents and expensive coats filled seats. College scouts sat in back rows with clipboards. Behind the curtain, Marcus stood in a simple navy shirt and dark jeans. No designer labels, no Hamilton family crest. Just him and his truth. The moderator called his name. "Our final speaker, Marcus Hamilton." Marcus walked onto the stage. The lights were bright, hot. He found the microphone and looked across the sea of faces. "My name is Marcus Hamilton. Some of you know me as a kid who wasted every advantage, who didn't care, who failed spectacularly. And you'd be right. I did of everything, except the one thing that actually mattered." He paused. "I had everything except someone who believed I could become more than my last name, who saw through the arrogance and anger and found something worth saving. And that person, she wasn't my teacher. Not officially. She wasn't paid to help me. She had no office, no authority, just a mop and a heart big enough to see past my worst qualities." The audience was silent now. "Her name is Dorothy Bennett, and she's the reason I'm standing here tonight." Marcus scanned the crowd, voice growing stronger. "She taught me how to read, really read. Not just recognize words, but understand what between the lines. She taught me how to write, how to think, how to question everything I thought I knew about success and who deserves respect." He gripped the podium. "She didn't just clean the floors of this school. She cleared the fog in my head. She showed me that wisdom doesn't come from wealth or status. It comes from being willing to admit you know nothing and then doing the hard work of learning anyway." The energy in the room shifted. Parents wiped eyes. Students sat straighter. But she was fired, silenced, removed because systems don't like it when someone from the bottom makes a real difference. He held up his notebook. She told me learning was transformation. That real winning isn't about being the richest or most powerful person in the room. It's about becoming someone worth remembering. Someone who uses their voice to lift others up. His voice softened. She might not be in this auditorium right now, but she's in every word I'm saying, in every thought I'm thinking, in every person I might become. Marcus looked directly at the audience. So what does it mean to win in life? It means waking up. It means letting go of the names and labels that trap you. It means finding your truth and using it to serve others. It means recognizing greatness wherever it appears, even when it's holding a mop in a school hallway that people like me walk past without noticing. He stepped back from the microphone. Dorothy Bennett taught me that winning means becoming fully human. And if that makes me weak or soft, then I'll take that over being empty any day. Silence. Then one person began clapping. Then another. Then the entire auditorium erupted. Standing, sustained, genuine. Parents wiped tears openly. Students cheered. Even faculty were crying. From the very back, near the exit door, a woman in a simple headscarf watched with tears streaming down her face. Dorothy Bennett had come quietly just to see him shine. She caught his eye across the distance, smiled, mouthed 2 words, "I'm proud." Then she slipped out into the night. Marcus stood on that stage, not as a Hamilton, but as himself. Finally, completely himself. The video of Marcus's speech spread like wildfire. Within 48 hours, it had been shared thousands of times. Billionaire's son credits fired Janitor for saving his life. The headline appeared in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Dorothy Bennett's story was being told. Her distinguished career, the scandal that destroyed it, her quiet dignity in rebuilding. Public pressure mounted. Ashford Academy issued statements about reviewing personnel decisions. But something bigger was happening. Dorothy received calls, speaking engagements, teaching offers. Doors that had been slammed shut began opening again. Marcus finished his senior year with a 3.4 GPA, not perfect, but honest. He'd earned every grade through genuine effort. College acceptance letters arrived from Ivy League schools. Marcus turned them all down. Instead, he chose Morehouse College, a historically black institution focused on social justice and community service. "Because I want to learn how to serve, not how to rule," he explained. "I want to become the kind of teacher Dorothy was to me, someone who sees people, not resumes." 2 years later, Marcus knocked on the door of a modest house, carrying a manila envelope and a sunflower, Dorothy's favorite. The door opened. Dorothy stood there in a comfortable cardigan, surprise and joy on her face. "You didn't have to come all the way out here." "Yes, I did," Marcus replied, handing her the envelope. Inside, his dean's list transcript, his Teach for America acceptance, a published essay titled Learning from the Margins, and a formal proposal for an educational nonprofit called the Bennett Institute, a community learning center offering free tutoring, mentorship, and adult education. "Marcus, this is incredible. But the funding? It's handled. My father and I are speaking again. Not perfectly, but honestly. He agreed to fund the first 3 years." Dorothy's hands trembled. "Why name it after me?" "Because everything I'm trying to build started with you, with a belief that learning should transform people, not just credential them." She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I'll do it on one condition. You co-direct with me. This isn't about honoring the past. It's about building the future together." Marcus smiled. "Always." 6 months later, the Bennett Institute opened its doors. The space was modest but warm, donated books lining shelves, comfortable chairs in circles, walls decorated with quotes from Baldwin, Morrison, Hurston, Du Bois. Students came slowly at first. Teenagers written off by traditional schools. Adults seeking GED certificates. Immigrants needing language support. Anyone hungry to learn without judgment. Dorothy taught literature and philosophy. Marcus led writing workshops and mentorship programs. The real reward came in smaller moments. A 12-year-old student handed Dorothy a handwritten story and whispered, "This is the first time I've ever finished something I'm proud of." Dorothy held the pages like they were gold. Marcus watched from across the room, his own eyes wet. That evening, after the last student left, they sat in the quiet center. "Do you ever regret it?" Dorothy asked. "Walking away from everything your name could have given you." Marcus considered seriously. "I didn't walk away from anything. I walked toward something real, toward purpose, toward becoming someone I can respect when I look in the mirror." Dorothy nodded. "Your father came by yesterday while you were teaching." Marcus looked surprised. "He did." "Stood in the back, watching. Before he left, he told me I'd done something he couldn't, that I'd helped you become a man he was proud of." Marcus sat with that for a long moment. "That's the most honest thing he's ever said about me." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set through the windows, painting the room in amber light. 3 years later, Marcus stood on a stage at a national education conference, presenting research on alternative teaching methods. The Bennett Institute had become a model being replicated in 8 other cities. During his presentation, Marcus showed a photograph. Dorothy teaching a small circle of students, her face animated with passion, the students leaning forward with complete attention. "This is what education looks like when we stop measuring success by standardized metrics," Marcus told the audience. "When we recognize that wisdom exists everywhere, not just in people with the right credentials or backgrounds." He clicked to another slide showing student testimonials and transformation stories. The woman in that photograph was fired from this work, told she wasn't qualified, that working with students outside her job description was inappropriate. He paused. "She's now our lead educator, and our student success rates exceed traditional models by every meaningful measure." The audience applauded, but Marcus held up a hand. "Here's what I learned that changed my life. Greatness doesn't announce itself with credentials and titles. Sometimes it shows up holding a mop, whispering philosophy while cleaning floors, waiting for someone to finally see it." He looked directly at the audience. "My privilege could have destroyed me. It almost did. But one woman, one black woman that everyone overlooked, decided I was worth saving anyway. Not because of my last name or my father's money. Because she saw something in me I couldn't see in myself." His voice grew quiet. "How many Dorothy Bennetts are in your communities right now? How many brilliant minds are working jobs beneath their capabilities because systems failed them?" The room was completely silent. If you leave this conference with nothing else, leave with this: look differently, see differently. The person who might change someone's life could be anyone. And the person who needs changing could be anyone too, even the most privileged, arrogant kid who seemed beyond help. He smiled. "I'm living proof." The standing ovation lasted over 3 minutes. 5 years after that first morning meeting, Marcus's favorite moment still happened in the original Atlanta Center, during evening writing circles when students shared their stories. Tonight, a 17-year-old named Isaiah, brilliant but struggling, angry at a world that had never given him fair chances, read an essay about learning to trust again. Marcus listened, seeing himself in this young man's words. When Isaiah finished, Dorothy asked gently, "What do you want to become?" Isaiah thought for a long moment. "Someone who helps people like me. Someone who sees kids that everybody else has given up on." "Then that's what you'll be," Dorothy said with absolute certainty, "as long as you stay willing to learn." She looked at Marcus with a smile. "Sound familiar?" Marcus laughed. "Very familiar." After the session, Marcus stayed to help Dorothy clean up, a ritual they'd maintained despite having staff. "Do you ever imagine what would have happened if you hadn't spoken to me that day?" Marcus asked, stacking chairs, "If you'd just ignored the arrogant rich kid?" Dorothy considered this. "I imagine you would have found your way eventually. The universe has ways of teaching us what we need to learn. But you made it happen sooner. Gentler. You saw something in me when no one else did." "I saw what was already there," Dorothy corrected. "I just helped you see it too." Marcus set down the last chair and turned to face his teacher, his partner, his friend. "Thank you. For everything. For not giving up on an impossible student. For showing me what real education looks like. For changing my entire life." Dorothy smiled, the kind of smile that held years of wisdom and love. "You changed your own life, Marcus. You did the work. You made the choice to become someone different. I just asked the right questions. Then thank you for asking. They embraced, a simple hug containing multitudes of gratitude and respect. Outside, the Atlanta night hummed with possibility. Tomorrow, more students would arrive. More lives would begin transforming. More seeds would be planted in soil society had declared infertile. The work was never finished. The revolution was ongoing. But tonight, in this modest community center filled with books and hope and echoes of transformed lives, Marcus Hamilton understood something profound. Winning didn't mean having everything. It meant becoming someone who helps others find what they need. It meant using whatever advantages you possess to lift people up rather than looking down on them. It meant recognizing that greatness appears in unexpected places, speaks in unexpected voices, and changes the world one student, one question, one honest conversation at a time. He looked around the center, this place built on a janitor's wisdom and a privileged boy's willingness to learn, and felt something he'd never experienced in his father's mansions or expensive cars. He felt worthy, not because of what he had, but because of who he'd become and what he was building with others. That was the real education. That was the true inheritance. And that was what it meant to win. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to Tales by Shaldre for more stories that inspire and transform. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment. Who is the unexpected teacher in your life? More powerful journeys are coming. Subscribe so you don't miss them.